Greetings, students. This is e-learning program of Shee Gyanmanjari Vidyapeeth. Today, we will be starting with Standard 10 Social Science. Social Science of 10th Standard is divided into 4 parts: History, Geography, Economics, and Civics. The first 7 chapters of Social Science deal with the history part. Today, we will start with the first chapter of history. Name of the chapter is Heritage of India. India is a very vast country, and also India is a land of ancient culture. It is rightly said in the ancient Indian scripture Vishnu Puran that Uttaram Yatsa Samudrasya Himadrasya Dakshinam Varshtad Bharat Nam Bharati Yatra Sansatihi. It literally means that India extends from Himalayas in the north to the Indian Ocean in the south, and the new descendants are called Indians. India is bound by the natural boundaries like Himalayas in the north and coming down to the south. On the eastern side we have Bay of Bengal, on the western side we have the Arabian Sea, and towards the south we have Indian Ocean. So, India is naturally protected from all 4 sides, which has given us lots of prosperity. Whenever we start any auspicious ceremony, we use words like Bharatvarsh, Bharatkhand, Jambudweep, Aryavarta, etc. while taking a resolution. From all over the world, different countries, they were mesmerized by the Indian prosperity, and they came to India for different purposes. Why was India prosper? They came to India for various reasons. Maybe the countries from where they came, the political scenario was so bad that they could not survive along with their families, their tribes. Either the tribes were in minority, for whatsoever reason they came to India. They came to trade, they settled, they mingled with the Indian culture. This in turn enriched the culture that India had. This mutual exchange that we have seen throughout all these centuries, it has made our culture. In this way, our culture is transferred from generation to generation, and it is continuously progressing. When these people came from outside, they brought with them their own culture, their skills, their language, their script, their customs, tradition. All these things they brought with them to India. They mingled with the tribes that were already living in India, and exchange of all these cultures gave a rich and varied culture to India. We accepted their thoughts, their ideas, their culture, tradition, religion, language, script, everything. In turn, they also accepted. So in this way, this kept on making our culture rich. The new generation which came, they saw this mixture of culture, they modified it and they passed it on to the next generation. In this way, a heritage is transferred from generation to generation. India. In Standard 9, we have already learnt about the present area and location of India. India is a very vast country, and in ancient times and now in area wise also it stands at 7th rank area wise, and population wise it stands second. Our motherland have bestowed us or showered upon us varied heritage to us, and not only to us, to the world also. Indian culture has always been trade oriented, and we have been peace living people. Indian culture has realized Sat, Chit and Anand. Sat means truth, Chit means the mental state, and Anand means happiness or bliss. Besides this, Indian culture progressed with the mutual exchange of different cultures of other countries which came to India and settled in India. They have accepted the values of non-violence and peace which have been adopted and admired by the world. Basically, India has always been a trade-oriented country. Our land, a fertile land, the climate is so much suitable that it gives us whatever we want. The soil gives us mineral, plus the soil gives us farm products, which satisfies our need. And we have always been peace loving, and that is the main reason why we have always accommodated people coming from outside of India. We have accommodated them so that they can mix, mingle and settle over here. We have in fact helped them to settle over here. Of course, small and big conflicts may have taken place time and again, but we are basically peace loving people. We know to protect ourselves, but if we see that the tribes coming are ready to settle over here, they are ready to accept the norms and conditions, then we have always accommodated them. This is perhaps the biggest attitude since centuries that the people of India has shown. When we have accommodated these tribes which have come from outside, then they have accepted the non-violence and peace which we have shown. And this has been admired by the people. Now, why would people from outside admire the non-violence and peace that we have shown? It is basically because only peace-loving nature will always allow progress to take place. People, right from the beginning of Indus Valley civilization till today, they have made our country rich and wealthy with the help of their intellectuality, their ability, their talent and skill. All these are intimately woven into the culture of India. Innumerable scholars, thinkers, artists, artisans, sages, saints, scientists, historians, all of them have contributed to the growth and development of our culture. Culture, if I put it in few words, culture is a sum of habits, values, customs, traditions, conduct of lifestyle of human. All these innumerable people, from time to time, they have given us lots of art, artifacts, thoughts, ideas, innovations, discoveries, which has helped the next generation to benefit from it. The next generation has always added to it and passed it on to their generation, next generation. So, our country has not only developed on the people living in India, but they have also developed. The heritage of India is divided into two: natural heritage of India and cultural heritage of India. Natural heritage of India is unique, that means one of its kind, and it is varied. Natural heritage includes features like mountains, forests, deserts, rivers, streams, seas, trees, plants, creepers, leaves, insects, and varied landscape, wide range of minerals, vegetation, plants, and animals. Natural heritage is a very important resource which provides us with food, water, fresh air, dwelling, and to cater to our daily needs. We Indians, we have a very fine example of close relationship with nature. There are stories of Panchatantra and Jatak tales of the Buddhist religion, wherein animals of the forest, wild animals of the forest, are telling moral stories. Ayurveda, Unani, nature cure, they are also totally based on nature. These are methods of treatment when allopathy, etc., were non existent. Our rishis, munis, they have gone into the forest and known about the medicinal value of plants, different parts of the plants, trees, herbs, shrubs, etc. And they have given us the rich knowledge of Ayurveda, Unani, and nature cure. As we have already seen, natural heritage of India is divided into four parts: landscape, rivers, vegetation, and wildlife. Let us start with natural heritage landscapes. Beautiful landscapes are generally formed due to different shapes of land, example the Himalayas. It has showered upon Indians abundantly with useful vegetation and minerals. Example, we find many strange birds, animals, mountain peaks covered with snow, brimming rivers. They are all gifts of the Himalayas. Forests of Tarai and its pilgrimage places like Amarnath, Badrinath, Kedarnath, and high mountain peaks like Nanda Devi. We can see here a beautiful example of landscape, the Amarnath pilgrimage, which is situated in the high Himalayas. Next, we see the Badrinath temple situated in Uttarakhand, which gives a panoramic view of the Himalayan mountains behind it. The famous Kedarnath temple, which shows Himalayas in the background. They give us splendid examples of natural heritage of India, the landscape. Here we see the mountain peak Nanda Devi, which rises 7 kilometers straight into the air and gives a very good landscape. Hello students, welcome back to the e-learning program organized by Shee Gyanmanjari Vidyapeeth for Standard 10. In our first lecture, we started with Chapter 1 of Social Science. So, let us first revise what we learned in the first lecture. In our first lecture, we learned that India extends from the Himalayas in the north to the Indian Ocean in the south, and the people living in this area, the new descendants, were called Indians. Whenever we started any auspicious ceremony, words like Bharatvarsh, Bharatkhand, Jambudvip, Aryavata, etc. were used for taking resolution. People from all over the world, from different countries, they were attracted by the Indian prosperity and came to trade and settled and mingled with the Indian culture. So, in this way, we made a culture rich and prosperous, and it was passed on from generation to generation. We also studied that India today ranks 7th area-wise and population-wise. It stands at 2nd position. In India, people were peace-loving and trade-oriented. We realized Sat, Chit and Anand. That becomes the part of the Indian culture. Due to the mutual exchange of different cultures and other countries, people who came from other countries and settled over here, we made our culture more prosperous. The people who came over here accepted the values of non-violence and peace, and since then it has been admired by the world. Right from the people living in the Indus Valley civilization till today, they have continuously made our country rich and wealthy with their intellectuality, ability, and talent and skill. Scholars, thinkers, artists, artisans, sages, saints, historians, they have all contributed to the growth and development of our culture. So, culture is a sum of habits, values, customs, traditions, and conduct of lifestyle. Heritage we divide into two, the natural heritage and the cultural heritage. In that, we learnt about the different features that are included in natural heritage of India, for example, mountains, forests, deserts, rivers, streams, seas, trees, plants, creepers, etc. And we also learnt that landscape, they form part of the natural heritage of India. They are generally formed due to the different shapes of land. For example, the Himalayas, it's a very beautiful landscape. Amarnath, Badrinath, Kedarnath, and the strange birds, animals, brimming rivers, they are all gifts that this vast land has bestowed upon us and which form part of the natural heritage of India. Today, we continue with natural heritage of India. In that, rivers form a part of the natural heritage of India. Rivers have been providing natural ways since ancient times. If I refer to the Stone Age, then people living even during the Stone Age, they lived quite near to the small and big water bodies that were available, rivers, ponds, etc. They mainly lived and settled near the rivers so that they can get the excess of water nearby. Indian culture has flourished on the river banks of the Indus and the Ravi. The rivers like the Ganga, Yamuna, the Saraswati, the Indus, the Narmada, the Godavari, and the Krishna, etc., they have profoundly influenced the people of India. Even during the ancient times, rivers, they had been providing water transportation since ages. People's life have been greatly influenced by the rivers. Rivers are an integral part of our life because they form the main source for drinking water, domestic use, irrigation, electricity, waterways, etc. Since ages, people have always tried to settle near the rivers because it's a very rich resource for their daily needs. They get the drinking water, they used to get the water for domestic use, they used to irrigate their lands from the water obtained from the rivers. Men's life was always dependent on rivers. In order to develop industries, they needed water. If we start from Indus Valley civilization or the Harappan civilization, from the excavation work we have found clay utensils. For making these clay utensils in large number, they needed water. The houses that were made, they were basically plastered. The walls and the floors, they were plastered using mud, clay, etc. and mud and clay mixed with water in order to make a very good flooring or the walls. So, for building of houses, making clay utensils, plastering, etc., river water was used. Artists like poets, painters, etc., are usually found during the dawn and dusk on the river banks. The scenery inspires them to make creative works, which gives us aesthetic pleasure, that is, the inner pleasure. In this way, rivers have also become a source of inspiration for artists and enrich the lives of the people by developing the senses. In India, rivers are considered sacred and they are worshipped and they are rightly called Lokmata. Rivers have found a permanent place in many religions. For example, River Ganga is considered very sacred. River banks are considered very fertile because the silt brought down from the Himalayas and other mountains. The silt is deposited on the river banks, which in turn gives us a very healthy crop. So we see that rivers, they form a very important part in the natural heritage of India. So we have seen two important features of natural heritage of India. First was the landscape, and second, we have just studied rivers as one of the important part of natural heritage of India. Now we shall learn about vegetation as an important part of the natural heritage of India. Vegetation is very important for the survival of life on this earth. Humans, animals, birds, etc., they are dependent on trees and plants for their food. We, the people of India, we have been nature lovers since ancient times. Many of the trees and plants are worshipped in India. For example, the banyan tree, the peepal tree, the basil plant. They are worshipped and they find a very important place in the religion. Vegetation provides us with crops like cereals, pulses, oilseed plants. The green fields and prosperous herbs-packed forest, medicinal plants, they have all enriched our life. Many parts of the plants are used to make medicines. For example, herde, amla, baheda, aloe vera, ardusi, neem, etc. There are lots and lots of plants, trees from where we make medicines. Then we have flowers like rose, lotus, mogra, damro, that is sweet basil, sunflowers, champa, that is plumeria, etc. They have all made life very beautiful, full of fragrance, healthy and prosperous. Social and religious life of India is greatly influenced by the vegetation. Flowers are used for worshipping the deities, that is the gods. Flowers are also used for decorative purposes. So we see that vegetation forms a very important part of the natural heritage of India and we are very proud of it. Just like vegetation, wildlife also forms a very important feature of natural heritage of India. India is a country with animal lover culture. We find lots of wildlife, for example, tiger, lion, elephant, rhino, foxes, bear, deer, sambar, rabbit, python, snake, and many such organisms can be found in India. Asian lions in the world are found only in the Gir forest of Gujarat. This is just one example to quote that many of the species are found only in India. Animals, birds, they have a very important place in our religious beliefs also. Our religious belief has given the status of gods and goddesses vehicles to some of the wildlife like tiger, peacock, alligators, eagles, etc. Perhaps India is the only country where animals are given a place. The currency notes. The national currency is highly valued by having the figures of 4 lions, horse, and bull. Not only that, to protect the wildlife, reserves are created and even laws of protection for their life have been made and enhanced. Here we can see a very fine examples of animals as vehicles of God. Now we come to the cultural heritage of India. India has gifted to the world a diverse and a very rich heritage. We already have learnt about what is culture. Culture is a sum of habits, values, customs, tradition, and conduct of lifestyle of human beings. Now, what is the meaning of culture? Culture means a way of life. Culture is made up of changes that occur in public life, social rules, regulations of different societies. Cultural heritage is a man-made heritage. Whatever is received or created by human with his tact, wisdom, art and skill is called cultural heritage. Because it's a man-made heritage, whatever we have received from our forefathers, or it has been created by us by using our tact, wisdom, etc., is called cultural heritage. Let us start from Aryans, Kshatrap, Kushan, Huns, Persians, Turks, Arabs, Mughals, Britishers, French, etc. All these castes, tribe, people came to India. They have made a culture rich because Indian culture, from the exchange of all these tribes, castes, etc., has become very, very rich. People had already been living in India, but when these people who come from outside, when they came to India, they have brought with them their own customs, traditions, etc. They have created lots of things with the help of their tact, wisdom, art, skill. So, continuously, the mutual exchange between the cultures, it has enhanced our culture because of this fine mixture of culture of India plus all the people who came from outside. That has made our culture very, very rich. The art of architecture and sculpture, they are 5,000 years old. The remains of Indus Valley civilization is very fine evidence of this. During the excavation held at different places of the Indus Valley civilization and Harappan civilization, we have found lots of artifacts which prove that the Indus Valley people, they were quite aware of the art of sculpture and architecture. From the remains that we have got, we have figures of gods, goddesses, human, animals, and several toys, as well as we have a very beautiful sculpture of a bearded man and the statue of a dancer. By seeing all this, the self-esteem and pride in our cultural heritage keeps on increasing. We really feel proud of the civilization that has developed in the land of India. Now, on the timeline, we come down to the Mauryan era. Very fine sculpting art can be seen during the Mauryan era. We have a very fine figure of a bullock or a lion on an inverted lotus that was made during the Mauryan era. The statue of Gautam Buddha in a meditative mood is also a very fine example of sculpture. We also have the Kalkan statues of the Jain Tirthankaras. Or for example, we can take the caves of Ellora of the Rashtrakuta dynasty, etc. By looking at all these fine examples of sculpting, we feel very proud about the heritage that we have. We feel very glad, and also we find lots of respect for our cultural heritage. Now let us see what are all the different things that are accommodated in cultural heritage. In cultural heritage, palaces, buildings, sculptures, stupas, viharas, chaityas, temples, mosques, tomb, forts, gates, all this is included in cultural heritage. Let us take it one by one. The palaces built by the different rulers through different centuries, the different buildings that they have made, the different sculpting work that has been made during different times. The stupas, that is the worshipping place of the Buddhist, the viharas and the chaityas, they are the shrine and resting places for the Jain monks. The temples built by the Hindu Rajas, the mosques built by the sultans, the tombs, the forts and the gates constructed during different times in history. All this is included in cultural heritage of India. Not only that, historical places which are part of the freedom movement like Sabarmati Ashram, Dandi, Bardoli, Wardha, Shantiniketan, which is in Kolkata, Delhi, etc., all this is also considered as a part of cultural heritage. Not only the architecture, sculpture, and places associated with the freedom fight, but also important discoveries that were made by Indians, they also form part of the cultural heritage. Language, script, discovery of zero, mathematics, calendar, astronomy, iron, that is minerals, the literature that was made, religions that came up, Yuddha Shastra, that is the art of war, the chariots that were made, political science for understanding how to administer a rule, zoology, botany, Vastu Shastra, republic, judiciary, legislation, environment protection, etc. All these discoveries, they are also very important, and they form a very rich cultural heritage that has been developed since ages. So students, we have learned a lot of things today. Now I would like you to note down today's assignment. Each question carries 2 marks. Write at least 4 to 6 points to justify your answer. Question number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. There are 5 questions in all. Before submitting your assignment, that is the homework, ensure that your name, roll number, class, division, the date, assignment number is clearly mentioned on the top.